If you guys can't hear out there, then just Petey, you can turn that monitor up a little bit or whatever, okay? To me, baby. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sailing Anarchy Hour. My name is Alan Block. I'm here with a very, very cool panel of guests. We haven't done a live talk show in a long time, but the Newport stopover for the Volvo Ocean Race was a hell of an excuse to do it. So thanks to Sperry and a great group of supporters, including the Volvo Ocean Race and the Boatyard here, we're able to bring you this fabulous group, which we're going to meet in just a second. Let's hear for a word from Sperry.
I just got a box from Sperry. I'm gonna go to Ireland. I feel like I'm gonna be in a van.
A remote island, just you and your camera. That's crazy.
I think I'm going under the sea.
Motion sickness relief pills.
We hope this voyage will help you uncover more about yourself and the world around you. We can't wait to hear your story.
Sperry, and again, thanks for all their support for our world tour this year. But right now we're in Newport, the U.S. stopover, the best, I think, by far U.S. stopover I've seen in more than a decade, and a hell of a lot of fun. Without further ado, first my co-host in the middle of the room, Nick Douglas, a three-time world champion from Australia, and it's good to have Nick back with Sailing Anarchy for today's show. But this show is all about women, all about the Team SCA, all about this magenta force to be reckoned with. I've got Dee Caffari, multiple world record holder, next to me. Next to Nick, we've got the lovely and very accomplished Sam Davies, who's done her bit around the world a few times. Sally, who's getting hers under her belt now, and of course, so Sally Barkow, also on the crew, and Brad Jackson. He calls himself Coach, and you've been in the limelight, Brad, and I don't know if you folks have seen it yet, but there's a reality show, a really well-produced, slick, beautiful reality show that goes pretty deeply into these guys' lives. I learned all about Sam's little kid and husband and their farmhouse in Brittany and her little baby mini pony. I learned about Brad and all his incredibly detailed coaching analysis and the decisions he had to make and the team had to make to come to this group. But what I really want to know is what Nick's biggest questions are for you guys, because she's been following you like hundreds of thousands of other women around the world, women sailors. They've been following you. They've been inspired by you. What do you want to know, Nick?
I think I want to know a lot of stuff, and I've been lucky enough to be in Auckland and then to be here in Newport, which has really embraced the Volvo Ocean Race. But I guess the biggest questions for me really evolve around inspiration and pressure, because like you said, I think you guys are inspiring so many women around the world. But does that come with a bit of pressure? I guess, Sam, maybe you're the one who's feeling it quite a lot.
I think we're lucky enough to not have too much pressure put on us by SCA, or I guess we have a bit of pressure put on us by Brad and his colleagues, our coaches. But I think the most pressure that we have is the pressure we put on ourselves, because we're all pretty competitive women, and we really, really, really want to do well. So. Well, that's what I feel. The sentiment I feel from on board is that we put the pressure on ourselves the most.
I think that's where we can really quickly break this down. That it's not just about women. It's not just about women. You guys are athletes, and you're out there just the same as any other athlete in this race, and you're really trying to keep yourselves going across what is one of the hardest races in the world, which a lot of people don't have the ability to comment on, really, of just how tough it is.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think we didn't before this race started. We've trained a lot together. We knew what we're capable of, but none of us had done this race in the format that it is now in these boats at this level, and I think that's the thing that we I guess there was the biggest unknown was that intensity level and how it is actually going to be, and how we were, or what level we were going to find ourselves at entry in leg one, and what we had to do to get up there and perform with the others.
What kind of roller coaster ride has it been for that? Like sort of your first expectations to import races, to the first offshore leg, and again great import race, and then the second offshore leg. Like how has it been a real roller coaster, or you guys have been managing expectations all along?
Well, I think, as Sam said, there was no expectation on us because we had zero experience in the Volvo Ocean Race in Volvo 65s and at the level that these boats are sailed at day in, day out from start to finish of each leg. So it was about finding out where we fitted in and making sure then that we set a base level and that we knew that we could always try and get better. And I think that's one thing that we have delivered, that we're happy with our performance in the fact that we have sailed the boat better and better each leg. The result doesn't reflect it, but within the team and the coaching staff, they're seeing the improvements. What we now need to do is translate that into the result a little more. But as you say, you've seen it on the import race, and suddenly that belief when you can beat the others is we can do it. It grows the confidence and it grows the belief in what we can do, and it's made people look at us slightly differently. We were the unknowns before, no experience, and now we're kind of trying to bridge that gap a little bit.
Unknown, only gone around the world 3 times, and
yeah, gone around the world, but not in the Volvo Ocean Race, and the intensity that
no question, it's an entirely different level,
yeah,
you know.
Very.
And I think when you followed the Vendée and some of these kind of races, and you look at the difference in the way these boats are sailed, it's like a different sport almost, right, Sam?
Yeah, it's a different sport. I think the only thing that's similar is the type of boat. Probably Dee and I and I guess Liz are the most comfortable sailing this kind of boat because we're used to it, but it's a totally different way of sailing it. And yeah, we're pushing 100+% the whole time, which is what we can't do when we've got an autopilot driving the boat. Yeah, most of the time in the Vendée you're not even on deck, whereas here now we're 4 or 5 of us on deck with the sheets in our hands and you know, grinding every wave. So it's a completely different approach and a different intensity level.
I was just going to go off the back of that. I mean, we've spoken about how you guys have achieved so much in other sports and how you really want to start translating that into results. And I mean, it must be hard in the Vendée Globe when you're by yourself. At the same time, you've got each other to leverage off. You know, when you're doing this, do you prefer sailing alone, or have you really gotten to know this bunch of girls? I mean, what do you think?
I actually really enjoy both. They're very different challenges, but yeah, I have really enjoyed this because it is another level, and just the fact that we have a very diverse talent level in the team, and I think you look what Dee and I do, and then you compare that to what Sally's doing. For me, it's a pleasure to sail with such amazing sailors from different disciplines or different sports within the sport, and I think that's where we've learnt the most. And yeah, for me to sail with Sally and see how she attacks attack is the right word when you sail with Sally, the sort of boat on boat. And the racing intensity, and then just she's used to racing for 15 minutes at a time, and then translating that into a 24-hour non-stop way of doing it is yeah. There's so much to learn, and that's what I enjoy about sailing with the crew compared to single-handed. When you're on your own, you have to do it all. It's a great challenge, but I have really enjoyed stepping up to that next level, and yeah, doing what Sally does around an Olympic course around the world. Basically, that's what we're doing now.
It's a perfect segue, actually. Thank you for that, Sam, because that's perfect. And this is really for Sally and Brad, because Sally's a long-time match racer and one design racer, and Brad, you've seen and done it all and won 3 of these. The level that I see in this race is so significantly higher. The actual performance level from boat to boat is so significantly higher than the last 2. Not that you were sailing slowly before, but there was so much less motivation to stay right there with the other guy, and so much less ability to look at his boat and get other tips from what they're doing or experiment. And it just seems like the level has absolutely skyrocketed. And I guess I wonder how that impacts into what your plans are for the beginning of the race, and where you coach them up to, and then what your goals become later on.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously the racing is very close now with the fleet, but and in the past races, the racing has been close as well, but there were differences and things like that. So part of the job as sailors and being on the crew was to develop these things, to develop your boat, to do the research and get the conditions and all those things and optimize that. But nowadays it's just flat out racing. You show up, jump on the boat and go. So I think from where we started from, well, to get the girls together, and we started sailing on the Volvo 70. It was probably a harder boat to sail than what the girls are racing on now, but it was sort of getting thrown into the fire, if you like, and that style of boat, that family of boat is very different to what most of the girls had been using before that. So I think it was quite a, thrown into the fire and see how you go. I think we started off very slowly, carefully, trying to do things as well as we could and take our time and not rush into anything. And then I think once we did that for a while, we realised we're running out of time. We've got to get into it. So it became more of a, if Sally showed up or if someone else showed up, we'd been training for a while, and they probably had it harder. We just put them in the fire and we have to sink or swim. So, and then that quickly ramps up, and we have to keep moving at that pace to try and to catch up to the opposition.
It's pretty cool, and you've labelled yourself as the coach. You're talking about keeping that level of intensity. How hard has it been to transfer from doing this yourself and doing these 4 Volvo Ocean races in the past to helping this incredible, inspiring bunch of ladies to keep going at an intensity level where they've faced quite a few challenges?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm only one of the coaches, so there's Jacques and Axel as well. So we it's definitely not just me. We've got a very big group around us, so which we're very lucky to have. But I think all we try and do, we didn't come into this thing as professional coaches or anything like that. We've just been around a long time and doing this race, and we try and pass on, I think, what we have learned. It's not always easy to pass on all the technical side of things or the feel side of things or all these things, but trying to get the girls up to speed with the technical aspects of these boats is, they're complicated boats, so there's a lot of things to go over. We sailed together for a year and a bit, all the time, doing some racing and training every day, 2-boat testing. So I think the intensity side of things, the girls see how we work on the boat, how other guys we've brought in during the training session, how they operate on the boat, what they talk about, the important things that you need to prioritise and all these things. So we sort of try and concentrate on that as much as we can, and I think we're fairly simple in the way we try and approach things, and we just try to do the certain things well, and do those things well, and then everything will come from that.
So you have gotten to have a little bit of a sail, which is okay.
we sailed a huge amount of miles with the girls in the early days, so I haven't missed out on any sailing, that's for sure.
And apologies too, we do have a whole bunch of questions from lots of people who've written in on Twitter and on Nick's Facebook page and stuff. And we also have Team CEO Richard Brisius coming in a little bit to talk about maybe the future of the team and that sort of thing. But I think, Sally, as someone who's followed you around on the race course quite a bit, and a real One Design, devotee, I'm so interested in that part of it. I'm so interested in how you take a group of, in many cases, solo French sailors, or at least you have a few. You have a sort of a 60% French girl here, and then a couple other solo French girls, and then and how you take them and how they become great one design sailors, and at the same time, sort of whether in 10 years or going around the world a few more times, someone like Elodie or whatever could become a great could become a great Volvo skipper, you know.
I'd just like to say that one of the biggest solo French classes is a very high-level one design, the Figaro class. So we have done a bit of one design sailing.
You certainly have. No, I mean you definitely have. I agree, but solo is a different intensity level, far different, right? And I think from Sally is I'm most curious how that works and how they integrate. How you get the ocean mentality to integrate with the one design mentality.
I guess Sam spoke a lot about how she's had to get you up to speed because you're used to your 15-minute intense races. How have you helped them in the one design area, I think is what Alan's trying to ask.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. I think, just some of it comes from this import racing, just sort of trying to get everybody fired up for that short amount of time and knowing that we can definitely sustain that level for that amount of racing. And then when we can bring that to the offshore, but that was something that I had to learn as well. It's a long track. It's the first couple training weeks I did, it was mentioned that we're going to be on one tack for more than a week. And I'm thinking,
whoa,
I don't really know what that looks like. Yeah. So, once I got over that, then we have a chance to sort of bring that intensity to the ocean. But, I think that took me a while as well. So, but I think on the short course and definitely the maneuvers and the import part of it, we can definitely, bring that side of intensity and timing and how fast things have to happen in maneuvers to the team. But, it's definitely been a two-way street for as far as the most important race we're doing is out on the ocean, and the import counts, but it doesn't really count for much. So we're definitely learning more, I think, from Sam than.
But that said, I mean, you don't want to downplay the import races. You're the only team that's won 2. You're sitting 3rd overall. I think that must feel nice when you guys are looking to make a difference in results. What do you reckon, Dee?
For sure. I mean, we talk about the Volvo Ocean Race, which is the legs around the world, but our biggest impact has been in the import racing, which shows that we can manoeuvre the boat, we can handle the boat. And it's great to come off the back of a successful import before you head offshore is, a real good morale boost. It gives a great atmosphere on the boat, and it makes all the guys kind of go, I've got to watch out for the magenta and blue boat, which is perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's something that we do want to keep going on. We're not out just to make up the numbers. We're out to go, okay, let's keep up this record we've got. Let's see how well we can do. And the import series is another bit of racing just like the offshore legs. So we never downplay any of the time on the water. It's all valuable learning. And we get all the critiques back from the boys, and we have to action it and make sure we're stepping up the whole time. Because the guys are learning to sail these boats every leg as well. It's just that we've got to make sure our learning kind of steps up a little higher than they're having to bridge a much smaller gap. So
exactly.
As long as we see it improving, we're happy.
Exactly. And I think we spoke a little bit earlier in the show that we don't want to talk too much about the girls versus the boys, but every single team is learning along every single step of this race. And we mentioned that it's a marathon. It really is a marathon because you guys get here even just for one stopover, and you've got your practice day and then your pro-ams and then your import race, and then you've got to head off. So, I mean, the stamina that you guys have to have is just massive. Maybe that's more help from a coaching perspective. How do you guys help them to manage all of this stuff that they've got to do around the racing too?
I'm not sure how we can help them too much. I mean, it is a busy schedule. I think, in our preparation in the early days, you do everything you can to physically be ready, because as soon as you start the race, it's just a downhill slide physically. You're never going to catch up or recover. So we're lucky that we have a squad of 13 girls, and we can rotate a couple of girls each leg and try and get a bit of recovery and add a bit of impact to the crew when they come back in, and we're lucky in the fact that we can do that and it doesn't disrupt the performance of the boat. So that's a good thing, and but when you get to a stopover and there's a lot of commitments for the girls on all sides of things, so I think it's just part of the job. It's a busy sailing schedule, but it's a busy corporate schedule. All these things that go on in the village, everybody wants a piece of them, but that's the way it is. That's the job.
And I guess that leads in nicely to a question that I got asked on Facebook, is that, you know, for the last leg and for other legs before, you've managed as a team to stay in touch with the other racers. But then, you know, especially in the last leg, you're up in the 3rd and the 4th positions and then started to drop back. And I guess one of the questions from my community was, can you pinpoint what that is? Is it fatigue related? Is it a setup thing? I mean, and I know that's a really hard question to answer, but it's something that a lot of my community have asked in different ways. So.
It's actually not a hard question to answer, because it's a question that we are asking permanently as well, because that's what we're trying to improve. And I think there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors that contribute to how we can stay in touch and how we lose if we lose the group. And it's a thing that we're working the hardest on every stopover, in every debrief with Brad and Jocker and Axel, and just trying to pinpoint where we can improve. And I think at the moment we realise that we've got some really good boat speed in certain areas, and in this last leg we felt like sometimes we were the pace boat and the others were struggling to keep up with us, and that's the first time it felt comfortable on board. We were, didn't feel like we were clinging on with our fingernails. It felt like it was almost the opposite, and that's a massive step up from leg 1 and 2. And so then we were really, I think you're even more frustrated when you do lose touch, when we realise that we can stay with the group and be in the lead. And this stopover, we've been working on it, scratching our heads. And I think there's lots of areas where we need to improve. I think every time we have to change gears, we're just a little bit slower than the guys to switch. So, you know, wind change, a wind angle change, sail change, every little change that we have to do, it just takes us that little bit longer to get back up to 100% or above, because now everyone's sailing a bit faster. We've got, I think, a wind angle where once the wind is aft of the beam, we struggle a little bit more than when we're sailing with true wind angles forward of the beam. So that's an area that we've been working on. I think in this leg we had some pretty shifty conditions, so it wasn't just one gear change. We actually sailed into some conditions where it was permanent gear changing, and that was tricky. And I think the biggest thing as well, as everybody sees, is if you lose contact with the fleet or with another boat, then you've lost your reference. And basically we're all sailing 2-boat testing around the world, and then if you lose your reference, we have our polars, but no matter how good your polar file is, we're sailing to the conditions and the now, and in this instance we had seaweed to deal with, so then your polar file doesn't take weed on the keel, and I think then the other boats were using each other to work out how many times they stopped per hour to get rid of the weeds, whereas we'd actually lost touch. We didn't have visual contact, so we couldn't see that. So then it kind of snowballs a little bit, and that's why it's doubly frustrating now if you do have a small speed deficit and you see your base boat sail away. Then you're not only frustrated with your speed deficit, you know that then the next few days are going to be really hard because you've lost that reference, and so that's what we're working on. So it's a big combination of factors, and it's the thing that we're working the hardest on.
Yeah, it's not a mystery to our team as to why we are not all, we're not there all the time. And that's what we try and do the whole time, is get better at those areas that we can get better at. And we're looking for the last few percent in a lot of different conditions, but basically the girls are sailing the boat very well. It's just managing these
definitely
things that come along, and we're getting better and better at it. But those things take a lot of time and experience and learnings to improve on. So I think our debriefs are definitely different to what they used to be, because we're talking about the last little bit, not the big picture. So it's good.
Sailing's always been a game of inches, and then when you're talking about the Volvo Ocean Race and those inches building up,
What are so gear changes is one. Give me 2 other things that if you could snap your fingers, that would make the biggest performance gain for the team right now if they got a lot better at it right away. What are the 3 things that would get you from last to second or third?
I think for us, we obviously in these boats, I think the driving and trimming is a really important part of it, as in any boat. But these boats, it's days and days of just sailing along, racing the other boats, and you have to be going fast all the time. So, and we have plenty of times where we're fast enough, but we need to keep that consistency, and we can hang in there with we might have a certain combinations on the boat that can foot it with the guys, but after time and people move around and conditions change and all these things, it's we have to keep the consistency at that level to hang in there, and if we don't do that, then we drop off a bit. So that's where we have to keep on improving, and that's I think that's just a matter of doing it more. But it's just the little bits and pieces here and there that add up. I wish all the girls were 15 kilos heavier and stronger and all these things, because that would make manoeuvres faster and all these things. So, but that's not reality.
But that said, it's your first time going around the world, and I don't know if we want to say that you've come last on every leg, because we'll just say that you've been within a day, you've been in touch. Exactly, you're sixth, you haven't been last. So there we go, that's what I'm saying. So you haven't been last, fifth in leg 5, exactly. So we're not, let's be a bit positive. You guys have been doing fantastically, given that it's your first time doing this. And I think that Team SCA, both on and off the water, has inspired so many people to love our sport, which is an amazing win, maybe bigger than on the scorecard. What do you reckon, Dee?
Oh, no, for sure. You only have to look at the race village and see the number of small girls coming up that want their hat signed or their book signed. And part of our role as sailors is not only the sporting return on the water, but the corporate return, and that is kind of letting people know who SCA are, but also inspiring future women to go and realise their dreams, whether it's to go sailing, whether it's to take on whatever challenge, but to make them all realise they're capable of doing everything. And we're doing it to the young and the old, the males and the females out there. And I think that's what's quite unique about the sport of sailing that we're very lucky to be involved in, is it's one of those sports that embraces both genders, old and young. And I think, we're helping epitomise that as a sponsor and a brand and as a team. If we can encourage everyone on the water, then great.
Yeah, that's
we got that one out of the way. Let's get
back
to the
we've
sailing.
got that. Get back to the sailing. Cool.
No, we will talk more about that stuff. I want to wait a little bit for Richard for some of the more 20,000 foot stuff. I guess I got a chance to look at the official damage list up to this point. Someone snuck me a copy. And it looked to me when I went through it that over the course of the race that you guys have the most reported number of broken things. And I guess, I probably it's probably a D question, because you've had to fix a lot of things on a lot of boats that are going around the world, and going really slowly around the world. So, who's the sort of queen engineer on board? Who's the fix-it girl? And do you feel like that's an area that you guys are on top of? And I just have no idea. I know I know the team and your experience, but who's the one that takes that, sorted out?
Well, I wouldn't say there's one girl on board that takes it all. Pretty surprised we won the damage title. I'm not sure if that's a good one to be proud of or not.
Well, it's early still. We got a few more legs left.
Maybe that's just declared damage. So we have quite an amazing crew. I think in charge of everything on board, we have Abby Elo, who's our boat captain. So everything that needs to be fixed or is getting fixed is supervised by her, but it's not necessarily Abby who's doing it. We have a little bit of sail damage that we've had along the way, and we've been very lucky to have Stacey Jackson on board, who is a sailmaker. That's her profession. So she's done a lot of hours with the sewing machine, and she's done some very impressive repairs that even the guys here in the Boatyard, the professional sailmakers on the floor, were impressed. They didn't think they would, the job she did was on board in conditions most of the time at night. It always seemed to happen that she was repairing at night. She did jobs that they said that they would think would be done on a sail or floor, not in the bow of a boat. So hats off to her, because she's saved our bacon a couple of times. And then we have Liz Wardley, who loves fixing anything. So it seems like actually she's pretty happy whenever something breaks, because she takes it on. That's a big challenge. So she's fixed a lot of different things. A lot with composite boat building. I guess I'm our resident geek, along with Libby, who's our navigator. So we've had a few sessions with the electronics on board. So yeah, I think the whole team.
I think most of those damaged things came from one issue with the electronics over the course of a few days.
Yeah, and then you're sitting next to her. Well, I don't think she was before, but she's our doctor and nurse, Dee, along with Sophie and Sally. But I think Dee's probably been the one who's stuck the most needles in us between all the legs. So Dee has fixed a lot of people on board, and that's a pretty important job as well. So yeah, we share it.
Part of the reason I bring that question up is because we've been concerned for a long time about access for women to sailing, and not just access to go on the boat and be the pit girl, but access to actually go and, when something breaks on the boat, what happens when you're racing? 3 guys run and fix it, or 2 guys run and fix it. On every boat I've ever been on in my life, even boats that have multiple women. It's one of those areas that women don't get into. It's one of the reasons why it takes so much work to get experienced women who can do all these things to get out there and race. You guys know all this. And I guess it's sort of a Sally question, which is, you've gone around the world, you're back in your home country now, the country that I know very well does a shitty job at turning women into great sailors, for the most part. I mean, it's few and far between for decades. You had to fight to get everything you got. It's never easy, right? Now that you're here, now that you've seen all these people that you know and all these sort of this scene, is it changing? Is it moving? Are people ready? Are they going to do their part, in America at least, because of what you guys have done in a way?
I mean, I hope so. I hope everybody steps up a little bit in different areas of the country to give that opportunity to not only women but young sailors, and to give that experience to. We have a lot of things going on already. Oak Cliff is a really good example, where they're there to train sailors to become so well-rounded that that they'll always have a job. They're become the boat builders, the sail makers, the racers, the match racers. They have that opportunity, and similar things are going on in Chicago with, it is a match race center, but they have all different types of boats there, and just the opportunities I think are there in this country, which they weren't there 10 years ago. And you have different people supporting these different venues where you can go and race. And and I think here in Newport, it's been quite an eye-opener to have the stopover, and have had a lot of people, especially young girls and young kids, just so excited about what we're doing, and a lot of life-changing moments, I think, big eyes being opened. And even just now, I just showed a couple girls the boat, and they walked off and said, yeah, now I'm going to change what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be like you. And yeah, that's something you don't get everywhere.
But it's also realising, or getting people not exposed to the Volvo Ocean Race, that you can't actually just get a job as a sailor. You actually need to bring another skill. And all of us, there's 12 on the boat, and we have areas of responsibility where our skill set is, or where our interest is, or where we've learned from the coaches to develop that area. So you always need to come with another skill. It's not just about the sailing. You've got to get the boat from A to B as well, and keep it going, and that you've got to maintain it.
Let's go controversial here for a second. The illustrious Skippy Novak wrote a story a few days ago. You guys have all seen it. And talked about that really an all-women's team was a step back, I think, for women sailing in this race, is how I sort of read it. And I think his point was that if you really want to get women into this race, then you got to mandate them be on the boats, basically. You got to say half and half or whatever it is. My question is that all kind of knee-jerk. You go, well, what's that about? But at the same time, the race needed younger blood. What they do, they mandated under 25. So is that the kind of thing that the race could think about? Minimum numbers? Is that the kind of thing that you guys would ever want to see? Or is it better to run it through the way like you guys are doing it, where either you join a team because you have the merit to join a team, or you go on an all-women's team? Anyone? Brad, you watch. What do you think about mandating?
I'm not sure, because I've been through so many editions of the race that when I was young and I got on the boat, I got on there because of on merit. You know, I was 22 or 23 for the first one, so that was just how you got on. The under 30 rule comes in, which is fine. You know, that's fine. With regards to be honest, I haven't really got an opinion on if we should have a certain amount of girls on each crew or whatever, because we live in our own little world at the moment that there's not much outside it. It hasn't been for the last 2.5 years. But yeah, for me, the Volvo race has to be, you know, the top end of ocean racing, and it needs to stay there. And regardless of whether there's girls in it or guys in it or old people or young people or whatever. So that's I want to, you know, I'd like to see the race stay at the highest level.
I've sailed on a mixed crew with Brian Thompson, the skipper. We had the old Club Med with Tracy and Brian. We were a mixed crew doing records for a year, and it was
a 100-foot cat, wasn't it?
110-foot cat and 4 world records, I think, in that year, and it worked really well. We had a really good crew, and I thought it was very complimentary and diverse skill sets and strengths on board. But having done this project with Team SCA, I think that if you get it right, and I think we are getting it right, it's taken us time to do so. So I hope there'll be another edition. If you get it right, there's an amazing strength with an all-female team that you probably don't get with a men's crew or a mixed crew, in terms of how we work together, because we have to overcome the lack of strength individually. And I think it's something, we were talking about it with some of the guys in the team, that, yeah, we have now, I'm not sure the word for it, there's a lot of things that we can do without having to talk to each other now, because we know each other so well, and we can support each other's strengths and weaknesses, and I think it's an amazing bond that you can create with an all-female crew that you probably can't with a mixed or a male crew, and I think that could be a strength that I'm not sure I'd want to do a mixed crew or be part of a mixed crew in a Volvo. I've really enjoyed this challenge, and I think that that a women's team can perform it. I don't think it's a question of can't we, do we need guys on board to be there. I think we need the experience, yes, but I think the all-female thing could potentially be a strength in the future.
Knowing that it is, despite the fact that there's now 15 of you, how big is the full squad of sailors? 13.
13 sailors, 2 OBRs.
2 OBRs. So now that we know there's 13, possibly 15 of you that are qualified for the Volvo, you know what I mean? Does that mean you start to filter through the fleet? If, let's say, there's no Team SCA for the next one, do you filter through the fleet, or does the Volvo need to encourage it if it's going to happen at all?
I think if there's no Team SCA next time, I think there'll be a few of us sitting in Knut's office with him, trying to set up our own female project. So I don't think there's a question of if or whether. I think there's the enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
And I think actually there's more than 15 qualified, as you say, sailors, because, well, thanks to the project and how Brad and Jocka and, well, the management of our team set it up in terms of the trials that we had and the sailing we've done. We sailed with 2 boats for a long time, and I'm not sure Brad can say how many women and girls. 40. Yeah. So we've had 40 female sailors in the project, and the selection was pretty tight, and I think there's quite a few girls who very narrowly missed being part of the team, and who I would be more than happy to sail with next time. So that whole concept and the way this project was run is a great way of bringing more women into offshore sailing as well.
Sally, you had a...
I was just going to say, as far as adding a rule, you know, like you're talking about, to have women on each boat, I think that would be a shame. I'm a bit more like Brad, you know, it should be about merit. I think this is the toughest ocean race in the world and it needs to stay there. And I think rules like that are really good for, you see the Extreme 40 do it in other classes, and maybe it's better to do that and to get women more experience in different types of racing. But yeah, I would be proud to be on another boat for merit, not for because it had to be.
No,
to
and
make
I
the
hear
rules.
you, but I mean, at the same time, like, we have to acknowledge that for 100 years, it's been pretty hard for girls to go yachting. I mean, yeah, there's exceptions, but it's been pretty hard. Certainly in my country,
pretty hard for women to do a lot of things.
I mean, well, exactly, but and that's why there's affirmative action, and that's why there are programs designed to sort of try and repair some of those past foibles. I guess what I'm hearing from you guys is you're not interested, though.
I would
Maybe there's another venue, another race for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think it should be contrived. As Brad said, I'm the same, that the Volvo Ocean race is meant to be the elite crewed round the world race, and it needs to stay there.
And I guess that's what your selection was all about in that terms, pulling from that 40-person pool. You've taken the top of the girls to form SCA.
Yeah, well, I think we tried to give the opportunity to as many girls as we could with the time we had, and obviously, yeah, we were looking for as many skills as we could find to bring to the team. But it's like it was a very different world for a lot of the girls. But we probably spent more time doing that than what we first thought we would. So that probably cut down a little bit of our time on becoming a team, and starting to be able to sail, better and better, technically learning all these things. So we did take, that's probably one thing I think that if you had, but with the hindsight involved, if you did things again with our team now, if we had the team together earlier, because we pretty much ended up with the core of the team from an early stage.
Sure.
And then we would have had more time to develop our sailing skills, which is, where we need to get to. But, we did everything we could to give as many people a chance and to bring in people that maybe wouldn't get a chance somewhere else. So, it's hard to say we did the wrong thing, but knowing what we know now, for this race, we probably would have been better like that.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to focus on things that have been done incorrectly, but how many things have been done correctly, given that it's the first time around, and hopefully you get another shot in some form or other, I guess.
I got another one, and this comes from...
They're coming in.
I think this
fast.
is from Tunnel Rat, is what he calls himself. And he says, let's say the next race comes along and you guys are given the chance to be on board. What do you think about these boats holding up versus the new boats that are going to pop out here fairly quickly? They in good shape? I mean, you're going to want a new boat? This thing getting soft? What's the story? I think Patrick from Far's around here somewhere.
Yeah, who from the Boatyard's here?
I think if you had your choice, you'd have a new boat for sure.
That's why you're here, is you'll tell the truth. So maybe one more tough question is are we going to get Richard or no? Oh, good. Great. Perfect. Good timing. It's all working out fine. And again, thank you to everyone and to Sperry for putting this on, and you guys for taking the time to come over. I know I don't make it easy. I do everything at the last minute. It's never easy to read nasty things about yourself, right? I know it pretty well. Nick knows it. Anyone who's out in the public eye knows it. You guys have gotten some big doses of it. And I don't mean from Skip. That was, at least he's thinking, But I mean from all the trolls and all the haters that go onto your Facebook pages and say horrible things and post nasty pictures. And say stuff that is, for the most part, very much untrue. And they have no clue and everything else. But does it get into your head? Do you have to walk away? Do you not even look at Facebook anymore? Like, how do you react to the hate? I want to know personally. I need help.
Well, there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. So if they're talking about us, it's got to be great.
Yeah, we know
that. But is that really how you feel? I mean, when you feel it, like, what do you do? Do you have something you do to deal with it, or you just not even look? What do you do?
Well, it doesn't really come, I think I can speak and everyone have their own opinion, but it doesn't really come into the camp. We are quite a close-knit family now, and we're so into what we're doing, so busy with what we're doing. actually that's kind of dealt with. Other people are reading it, and we're like racing a boat, so it's not really in our radar at the moment. And if you want to spend time, the few valuable hours that you've got where you're not busy reading that stuff, then that's up to you. But, you know, it's not kind of on my radar. It's not helping us go fast, so it's not really relevant.
Yeah. Well, what's important to me, and actually I have a 3.5-year-old son, so for sure, as soon as I get off the boat, I'm not allowed to do anything other than play Playmobil and Lego at the moment. So I actually haven't read anything good or bad. But for me, the most important thing is what the people who know what we're doing say. And it was really great at this, when we got to Newport, to talk to some of the other skippers and navigators who had some really good things to say about how we were sailing. And almost like they were a bit worried that we could mess up the results for them by putting ourselves in between certain teams. And to have the recognition from those guys who've done the race, like Brad, 4 or 5 times before, and just a couple of, you know, really quite detailed comments about a move we made, or our boat speed, or how we're trimming, or things we're doing on board, and to be able to, you know, to have them come up. And just last night I was talking to one of the other skippers, and he was actually asking me questions about how we did something in the beginning of leg 5 when we were in front of them. And he wanted to know how we were in front of them and what we were doing, and comparing the way we were sailing. And he actually ended up saying, "Oh, crumbs, yeah, we were really lazy then, and we were sailing like a bunch of numpties." And that's the really nice stuff that we get to hear about how we're sailing. And yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to the other crews about that.
I guess that's where it starts to break down between men and women, and now you've got a big bunch of Volvo Ocean Race sailors. Like you're one of the sailors. Do you know, has that helped along the way, instead of being, you know, the girls' team? They're now coming to you. You're now part of the fold. You're nearly there. You've nearly done one whole Volvo Ocean Race. I guess maybe that's what it is as well.
Yeah. For us, it's felt like that from the beginning, because I think everyone's seen how much we've put into this, how much effort, and the sacrifices we've made to get to this level. So it's never really been anything else with the other teams. And I do know one of the other teams, they're not allowed to call us the girls. They have to call us Team SCA. If they're talking, they can't say, the girls have just changed their masthead. Then that they're not allowed on board to say that. It has to be Team SCA have just changed their masthead. So yeah, we have some good respect from the other teams.
It's really cool. I like that.
Well, this
Welcome.
It's perfect, isn't it? There's about 9 minutes left in this thing, and Team CEO Richard Brisius just popped in. You had a good meeting?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
I'll give you this in a second, but Richard, we've been waiting here because we've got several thousand people that all they want to know is, can they cheer for these girls again, or can they cheer for a girls' team again, or what's going to happen with the team? And
Yay.
I know you've just met with sponsors. I know you're on it all the time. Now's the time you put these things together. What can we expect for the next race?
Well, I have to disappoint you on that one, but for sure what Team SCA has started, I sincerely hope, is building a new platform for the future of women in offshore racing, and in particular in the Volvo Ocean Race, which is the top offshore race there is.
So you can't tell me anything? Is that what you're saying about the next race? All right. Fair enough. I didn't expect much more than that, but I mean, you know, to me, Richard, what you guys have done, you've been extremely creative all along, and you put together a good team, and you've stayed very much on message. Would you say that amongst the company and all the employees of Team SCA, do you think that they now have sort of come over to sailing as this athletic endeavor, or is it more about the adventure for them?
Well, I sense that, and again, looking at all the values this has created for SCA, the commercial values, I sense that it's sort of at the tipping point of spreading into a lot of good companies joining this race. But I've had that feeling before, because I've been with it for so many times, and I see that it is such a great platform to build all these sponsor values from compared to other sports. And I looked at 100 other opportunities, and it's truly great. So it hasn't happened yet, and I had that feeling before, but I think if you know, anyone can go and ask SCA, anyone in SCA today, and they have such a good experience. And this is the first time they're into it. So sorry.
This is real and
that?
live.
I don't know. It says unknown. You wanna? Go.
I never answer unknowns. Do you? No.
No. They may be from Australia too, but I guess you've also been you were saying that SCA started to build an amazing platform. How has it grown and developed for you? Have you been proud of these girls all the way and everything that they've done and the following that they've gained at every stopover? And here in Newport, there's pink everywhere. You walk into magenta. I'm sorry.
More magenta than orange.
Look, I have my magenta lipstick. There is magenta everywhere throughout the town. I think a lot of people have really grabbed on to Team SCA. I mean, hashtag we are Team SCA is pretty amazing. How does it feel to be a part of that?
No, it's like we have this extra source of energy in this team, because we say and we hope when we started it, let's hope this will inspire millions of people around the world. And just meeting people live down here, it seems like everyone just want to spill out how inspired they are. And that never happened when me and Brad were with Ericsson. People didn't come and say, oh, I'm so inspired by you. Or maybe they did by you, never by me. But here I'm sort of dragged into you know, a movement of inspired people. And it's pretty cool. And like we have this wish tree where people come into the pavilion and write on a napkin, which is quite non-so-digital, so to say. But you can go in there and read all these wonderful messages. And our camera producer or TV producer, he said he was shooting an interview outside the pavilion, and then this little girl, 7 years old, came up to him and said, I have something to say. Okay, wait, he said. And then she stood in front of the camera and said, a girl can do what a boy can do. And then she left. And these things just happen. And you have them all the time. Isn't it nice? Maybe you had it like that all your life, Sam, but to me it's new. It's kind of inspiring.
And you really didn't see it much at the older races. You know, yeah, there were little kids there that liked it, but it wasn't an epidemic like it's been certainly when I've seen it around you girls, you know. Well, we sure hope SCA comes back. Well, are they trying to decide now, or?
Yeah, certainly. I think it will be evaluated as it always should be, properly evaluated, and we'll see towards sometimes during this year what the future will bring. But I think someone told me that 70% of the shopping decisions are made by women. So I would be surprised if not other companies step on board supporting women in this sport as they see how successful it can be.
I'm game for that. Well, it's good. I'm glad that Richard came back, and I don't know. I honestly, I would sit there and keep asking you about how long until they make a decision, but you're never going to answer me. I would keep asking, but we gotta get out of here. Nick, is there anything else that you that's grinding your gears that you got to know about these girls, or your fans want to know?
Oh no, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, but I think the main one that I really liked there was that these guys are Team SCA. They're doing a fantastic job, and I know a lot of people call me Adventures of a Sailor Girl, but these guys are taking it to a whole nother level. And I just hope you guys have some good results on the board just to make you guys feel good by the end of this race. But that said, 2 import wins. Can't wait to see what happens down the line.
And I continue to, you know, I just spent some time with Anderson and some of the Alva Medica boys, and like, you know, they're frustrated too, you know, because they're all winners too.
Exactly.
And they're finding out that being a winner just ain't enough in this race. You know, you got to put your head down and grind it out for however many years and become a great Volvo Ocean racer rather than just a great racer. It certainly isn't sex designated, I don't think. But
pretty amazing.
All right, well, guys, huge thanks to the Boatyard here. We've got another show coming for you tomorrow morning. We're actually taping it in a little bit, but you can see that on Sailing Anarchy. Thanks to Nick Bison, all the guys here, and all the girls here at the Boatyard. It's been a huge help. Thanks to everyone at Sperry, and a massive thanks to Team SCA. Hashtag we are Team SCA, right? And go to Team SCA and look up the NOW. What does it stand for now?
Amazing Women Everywhere.
Amazing Women Everywhere. Oh.
You're more into ale.
No ordinary woman. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah,
check it out
the documentary.
Check it out on YouTube. It is brilliant work. I don't know if is that going to be distributed on regular TV around the world. What's the story? It's a brilliant piece. It's a brilliant. I've watched 2. We watched 2.
Yeah, it's been broadcasted or will be in total in 39 markets.
We'll have it here in America.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, keep your eye out for that, but be not 90 years old and go to YouTube. It's there now. And get in there and come and see these girls in Europe if you haven't seen them yet in Newport. They're amazing, and we just want to see them keep going and keep getting better. Girls, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you to my great studio audience.
Yay!
This is Sailing Anarchy. We'll see you later.